Dividing rational expressions. Well, dividing rational expressions is the same as dividing fractions. When we divide fractions, before we start, I'm just going to rewrite this as b squared minus 4 divided by b plus 3. And I'm going to write this as a divided sign like this rather than a fractional sign. It's just less confusing for students. Alright, so the very first thing we want to do is, again, factor. Factor, factor, factor. So we're going to factor everything in both fractions. If you notice, this is our difference of squares. So how do you factor a difference of squares? We get a b plus 2 and a b minus 2. b plus 3 cannot be factored, so we're going to keep that as is. This is going to stay divided. Here we can factor out a common value of 4, and I'm left with a b plus 2. And then this is all over. To factor this would be a b plus 3 and a b minus 1. Alright, so now let's consider our non-permissible values. So our non-permissible values for this case would be b cannot equal. Here we have a negative 3. Over at this fraction we have a negative 3 again, so you do not have to write that number twice. And then here we have a positive 1. So our non-permissible values are b cannot equal negative 3 and a positive 1. Now we want to divide these two fractions. So what do we do when we divide fractions? Well, thinking about back when we learnt about fractions, the skill that we learned is when we divide fractions, we change this to a multiplication and we reciprocate or flip the fraction that we're dividing by. So this is going to become a b plus 2 times a b minus 2 all over b plus 3. That fraction does not change. This division sign is going to change to a multiplication sign, and we're going to reciprocate my other fraction. Alright, a little tricky now. Because we've reciprocated this fraction, we now have to consider the non-permissible value of this expression. So we have to add another value to our non-permissible values of b cannot equal a negative 2. So we're going to add that over here. So when we are dividing fractions, we actually are considering what b cannot equal both for my denominator and my numerator, just for our second fraction, never the first one. Alright, so now that we've done that, we've reciprocated it, we've changed it to multiplication, we've identified our non-permissible values, we are now ready to simply cancel everything from our numerator to denominator. So this b plus 3 is going to cancel with this b plus 3. This b plus 2 is going to cancel with this b plus 2. So what I'm left with in my numerator is a b minus 2 times a b minus 1 all over 2. And you never want to go and expand this. You don't want to necessarily multiply it. You're going to always leave this in factored form. And that is dividing rational expressions.